The shrimp lost $11 million. The buildings cost $190 million a year. For 2 years, the internet has been laughing at the wrong number. America's largest seafood chain did not collapse because too many people ate too much shrimp. It collapsed because on one afternoon in July 2014, it stopped owning the restaurants it cooked in and started renting them back. For 25 years, its landlords collected the entire endless shrimp loss every 3 weeks. The company's own bankruptcy filing says so. Almost nobody read it. January 18, 1968, Lakeland, Florida. Bill Darden, 49, opens a seafood house with a partner named Charlie Woodsby. The sign says, "Harbor for seafood lovers." What it is, physically, never changes. A full-service, casual seafood restaurant. Sit down, order shrimp, crab legs, and a basket of cheddar biscuits. The money comes almost entirely from food and drink sold at company-owned tables, plus takeout and some international franchising. 3 costs matter: seafood, labor, and the building. For 46 years, the building was free. Red Lobster owned its real estate. Occupancy meant property tax and a roof repair. The land sat on the balance sheet as an asset. Remember that. It is the whole story. But nobody in the deal ever priced it in. In 1970, General Mills buys the 5-restaurant chain and pours serial money into a national build-out. In 1995, the restaurant division is spun off as Darden Restaurants, 250 locations, named for a man who had died the year before. Red Lobster teaches Middle America that seafood is a Tuesday, not a vacation. In 2004, a promotion called Endless Shrimp debuts. Seasonal, limited time. It runs quietly for 20 years. By fiscal 2014, Red Lobster is the largest seafood restaurant chain in the world, 705 restaurants. $246 billion in sales. Sales are down 6.2%. That's enough. Activist investor Starboard Value urges Darden not to sell. By Starboard's own estimate, a sale would destroy some $800 million of shareholder value. Nobody asked the obvious question. Darden signs anyway. May 16, 2014. Red Lobster to Golden Gate Capital. $2.1 billion in cash. No shareholder vote is ever held. Chairman and Chief Executive Clarence Otis said the deal addressed key issues shareholders had raised. It was the last good day. Here's what got lost. On May 16th, Darden announced the sale. The same day, a second announcement went out. Golden Gate had already agreed to sell Red Lobster's real estate. Both deals closed on the same afternoon, July 28th, 2014. More than 500 Red Lobster buildings went to a net lease landlord called American Realty Capital Properties, for about $1.5 billion. Opening rent, roughly $120 million a year. On property the company had owned outright that morning. Golden Gate paid $2.1 billion. Within weeks, the buildings returned $1.5 billion of it. Real equity at risk, about $600 million, in a chain doing $2.5 billion in sales. The buildings paid for the buyout. Red Lobster paid the rent. Then came the fine print. And the landlord's president, David Kay, described the structure in the press release that day. Multiple homogeneous long-term master lease pools which are cross-defaulted and contain restrictions on leverage and assignability. Translated, one bad restaurant can trigger default across the whole pool, and you cannot hand a lease to anyone else. 95% of the deal value sat on 25-year leases, rent rising 2% every year, automatically. By the last year, 64% more than the first. 93 days after the close, that landlord disclosed an accounting error. It grew. $3 billion of market value went with it. Its chief financial officer, Brian Block, was convicted of securities fraud in 2017. Chief executive Nicholas Schorsch was never criminally charged and settled civil SEC claims without admitting or denying them. Then it gets stranger. In late 2015, Buyout sold roughly $414.5 million of that same Red Lobster real estate back to Golden Gate Capital. The sponsor now sat on both sides of the lease, tenant's owner and landlord. Now watch 2 lines. Rent goes up. By 2023, lease obligations hit $190.5 million a year. The escalators, plus roughly 180 leases the chain already carried, $64 million of that is rent on restaurants already losing money, which it cannot shed. Guests go down, 30% fewer than 2019. Those lines were always going to cross. Only the date was uncertain. In 2016, Thai Union Group pays $575 million for about a quarter of Red Lobster. In 2020, it leads the consortium that buys Golden Gate out entirely. Thai Union is now two things at once: Red Lobster's biggest shareholder and one of its shrimp suppliers. That structure is not in dispute. What was done with it is. Nobody has to allege a conflict of interest here. The conflict is just the org chart. In 2022, Paul Kenny, a Thai Union employee and a board member of Red Lobster's holding company, becomes Red Lobster's interim chief executive. In June 2023, Ultimate Endless Shrimp goes permanent. $20, year-round. Red Lobster's own bankruptcy declaration says the decision was made despite significant pushback from other members of management. The company's filing puts the loss at $11 million over roughly 3 months. $11 million, against $190 million of annual rent, under 6% of 1 year's rent bill. In September 2023, Red Lobster defaulted on a $275 million term loan. January 2024. Thai Union announces it is exiting and books an impairment of about $530 million, what Bloomberg reported as a record quarterly loss. Its statement blames the pandemic, interest rates, and input costs. It does not mention rent. That is 4 months before the bankruptcy. Then it accelerated. May 13, 2024. 93 restaurants close. According to the filings, no warning. A liquidator called Tagex Brands auctions the entire contents of more than 50 locations. Winner takes all. Ovens, booths, lobster tanks. Its chief executive said the goal was keeping quality items out of landfills. Sustainability, at the wake. May 19, 2024. Red Lobster Management and 14 affiliates file Chapter 11 in the Middle District of Florida. 551 U.S. restaurants, 27 in Canada, 36,000 employees. Schedules list roughly $692 million in liabilities. The press release never uses the words rent, lease, or shrimp. The first-day declaration, filed the same day, uses all three. One document is the face, the other is the confession. Former employees sued, alleging no 60-day notice. An estimated 6,500 people lost their jobs. Nobody bid against Fortress. In September, the chain sold for about $375 million, a fifth of the 2014 price, mostly in debt Fortress already held. Darden was fine. Golden Gate had exited in August 2020, 4 years early, on undisclosed terms, and has never publicly commented on any of it. Then the argument started. Fast Company and the Roosevelt Institute called it private equity and extraction. Restaurant Business Online pushed back. Sale-leasebacks are routine financing, and the failure was doing an aggressive one to a brand already declining. Both readings survive the numbers. Sale-leasebacks don't kill healthy companies. They remove the margin for error from sick ones. In May 2026, the creditors' trust sued 13 defendants, among them Thai Union Group, its chief executive Thiraphong Chansiri, and Paul Kenny. The complaint alleges Endless Shrimp was not a promotion but a purchase order, engineered to move Thai Union's shrimp at prices that made no sense for Red Lobster. It calls the result a car crash and seeks damages for creditors owed about $295 million. Every word of that is an allegation. None of it has been tested, but the mechanism was never in dispute. Thai Union has called such accusations meritless and says it looks forward to a full representation of the facts. Paul Kenny has not publicly responded. No one in this story has been charged with a crime. The promotion did not cause the collapse. It revealed it. An $11 million mistake is only fatal to a company that can no longer afford one. The mechanism outlived the bankruptcy. Bloomberg reports Red Lobster tried to close about 250 locations in Chapter 11. The landlords said no. Rent is back near $200 million a year. In 2024, the new chief executive ruled out Endless Shrimp. I know how to do math. But it returned on April 20th, 2026.